Thanks for joining my very first webinar. The reason my partner Bill and I put this on was because there was so much attention around what we were doing. And many of you are previously investors or high income earners who have the passion to do what we're doing and essentially the motivation to do it. Some of you have been very persistent with reaching out, and I love it. I don't necessarily get on the Instagram and the Facebook and all that stuff too much. I have a social media team that takes care of that. But they were telling me, Chris, you have got to put on a webinar. These people are going crazy for what you're doing. And that really inspired Bill and I to actually put on a webinar that's going to continue on into the indefinite future and essentially document exactly what we're doing. So if some of you guys ever watch Alex Hormozi's stuff, he just continues to put out exactly what he's doing over and over consistently over a long period of time. And that's exactly what Bill and I are going to do. We're in our infancy stages in terms of our portfolio size. We're roughly 30 airplanes, and we're working on getting to 1,000 airplanes. That still leaves a total addressable market for the rest of you to get in every aspect of what you were doing, whether you want to buy and sell airplanes, whether you want to BRRRR airplanes, whether you want to invest in airplanes as a passive investor, whether you want to lease airplanes, whether you even want to securitize the leases from the airplanes. The sky is the limit on what we're doing, and we're here to document that journey for all of you. Kevin, can you help me get my my webinar going with the slides?
Yes. But before we get started, guys, one of the reasons why I love doing webinars is because like you get to put faces to the name, right? I've been running Zoom calls for probably 3-5 years. So if you guys are in a position, if all of you guys are just sitting in front of a computer, turn your camera on, because Chris and I, and Bill, we all appreciate seeing face to the, putting faces to the name, so that when we do see you at a real estate meetup or any sort of conference, that we recognize you and we can shake hands with you. But if you're driving or if you're flying an airplane right now, would not recommend doing that. So if you guys are in a position to do that, please do so. And guys, this is something that I begged Chris to do for like literally 3 months. I was like, Chris, you need to put out a webinar, because people are asking you all the time in the comment on the DMs, and I'm like checking his DMs, and I'm like, dude, I don't know how to answer these questions. So I had to beg him for like 2-3 months just for him to do it, and he's doing it in middle of wherever he is right now, in Brazil or whatever he said, Puerto Rico, sorry. So guys, please put your camera on if you're able to. And then also the thing is, this is just, if a lot of people, Chris, you brought up, like a lot of people are also in real estate. And literally what you're doing is real estate, but on a different vehicle, literally a different vehicle, right? And I've done probably 200 real estate transactions, and the way Chris breaks down his BRRRR strategies is so pertinent to all of you guys who are doing real estate. And I think the cash flow aspect of it, of the real estate, of the airplanes that he leases out to, is probably more than what you get on real estate. So this is something that I'm personally interested in. If you still till the end, there is a little bit of a gift for all of you guys. So just kind of stay till the end. Chris, this is something that we've been working on, so we don't want to waste any time. But Chris, all right.
I'm Chris Fitch, the airplane sub 2 guy. I know Pace just put out a video 3 to 4 months ago on what we did with his aircraft and how I structured the deal and how I put that airplane in service to essentially subsidize his son's flight training. But little known fact, I've been doing this since I was 18 years old. My very first real estate investment was at 19. I bought a home in Jacksonville, North Carolina, when I was in the Marine Corps, on a VA loan. So that was my very first zero down investment. And it really got me thinking, if I can do this stuff with houses, I can do it with anything. And I've been proving it to myself for about the last 15 years. I've been doing airplane stuff. I started off in the Marine Corps. I progressed. I now fly jets, helicopters, seaplanes. I've got about 8,000 hours. A couple thousand of those are in combat. I'm also one of the highest rated mechanics you can get on the FAA side. I'm what's called an airframes and power plants mechanic with inspection authorization. And to combine the experience with my education, I've also graduated college 5 times, 2 of which are flight degrees, 1 of which is an MBA. And my 6th degree is I'm almost finished with a PhD in aviation safety and training. I'm a dissertation away. Dissertations are not easy and they're very time consuming, and it pulls away from my money making activities. So I haven't finished it. But to say the least, I feel like I'm very qualified to give this period of instruction. My partner, Bill, I'm not sure how I can share his face on with you. Hey, Kevin, is there any way I can let Bill introduce himself real quick so people know that
I think all I need to do, Chris, is talk. Is that right, Kevin?
Yeah,
Am I on now?
you're on.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey everybody, thanks for joining us today. Really appreciate you sharing your time with Chris and I. A little bit about my background. I'll talk how Chris and I met about 2 years ago. Chris walked in the door to a ground school I was teaching. We both teach at or both are airline pilots at Omni Airlines. I was teaching a ground school. He came in, and I had just finished up 20 years of service in the Army. I was an Army reservist, and for those 20 years, I was in this government mindset. And in comes Chris, and we were having this ground school, and he kept on walking out of class. And what I was teaching was fairly important, and so I approached Chris in the hallway, and I said, why do you keep getting up out of class? This is ground school. You're learning to fly a 767. This is important. And he goes, I'm closing a land deal. And I said, okay. And I started probing just a little bit more what it was that he was doing. And it was a multi-million-dollar land deal. And so it kind of like Wolf of Wall Street. If you remember that scene, whoever the counterpart was to Leonardo DiCaprio said, if you show me your pay stub, I work for you. And so he told me a little bit more about this land deal. I was very intrigued. We both wanted to start a business. And we were at Panera one day, and we had Chris, well, we had the entire class there. We were all saying, hey, it's great to have a W-2 job. There's no better job than an airline pilot. You have plenty of time off to do other business deals. And so we decided we are going to start a business, and it's been 2 years, and it's been great. And it's really been a great entrepreneurial journey for me. Chris is he's the real deal. He's 100% in it, and it's just been a pleasure, working alongside Chris and building this leasing business. I'll pass it over to Chris just real quick. Airline pilot, 20 years in the military, MBA in accounting. I really love the business aspect of airplanes. That's what really excites me. And Chris loves doing deals. So that's me, Chris. Back over to you.
All right, guys. So the reason it was important for me to have Bill introduce himself is to show you that I am not alone in this endeavor. I have a full team. Myron Briley, a badass CRM guy. If you ever need a CRM stuff, hit him up. Kevin Cho does all my social media. Bill and I own a portion of a media company that does all of our aviation media. So I'm not alone in this endeavor. If I'm not an expert in something, I go out and hire it. But if you're going to go out and hire an expert in airplane investing, I am that guy. You want to hire me because I'm an expert in only this. You're not going to catch me doing TikTok videos and filming myself and all that stuff because it's not my expertise. But you will catch me in my hangar wrenching on one of my aircraft or doing a pre-buy or evaluating a deal from a financier perspective. So currently, we have a portfolio of airplanes of roughly 30. And the reason I say roughly 30 is because we always have 2 to 3 deals in the chute that are on the fence. And our current net cash flow, and remember, this is net, this isn't gross, it's 70 to 90K per month. And the reason that number varies is because we have what's called contingent rents. So we have a minimum lease price that guarantees that our lessee is going to pay us X amount of dollars. Anything above that minimum that they fly on our airplanes goes towards our contingent rent pot. But when we do our pro formas, we only use minimum lease prices so we don't grow broke or we don't trick ourselves with the numbers. So Bill and I definitely operate as professional lessors on the investment side. We do everything on a conservative basis. All right, so this is what we do to get our aircraft ready for lease if it's required. Now, what I'm about to run you guys through is the BRRRR strategy for airplanes. Keep in mind, this is a very specific niche within the real estate world as well. So if you're a BRRRR guy, that's usually all you do. You don't do fix and flips. You don't do multi-investment stuff. You don't do trailer parks. This is what you do. So what I'm about to do is get very granular on just the BRRRR strategy. I'll touch up on a few other techniques and topics, but the point of this is to show you exactly how I force appreciation in distressed aircrafts. So the first thing we do is we buy it, we rehab it, we rent it, and then once the rents are seasoned, we refinance all of that cash out and we repeat the process. This is literally an infinite return. And what I mean by that is that you're able to recycle all of your dollars. You can literally use the same amount of cash over and over and over. And the longer you do it, if any of you are familiar with what you got it, Kevin?
Yeah, don't worry. I'm muting them right now.
All right, cool. The reason I opine on you getting better and faster is because you're able to crunch down your cash flow conversion cycle. The quicker you pull your money out of a deal and redeploy it means you're able to set an asset in place that continues to work for you over and over. So I've been doing this a long time. My cash flow conversion cycle on these rehabs is roughly 6 to 8 weeks. Most of you are going to grow through your growing pains. You're going to be at about 4 to 8 months, and you're probably not going to be able to pull all of your cash back out because you're inexperienced. But as that experience grows, and the more stern you are with your contractors, if you will, the easier it is for you to position yourselves to be very efficient at this process. Number one reason why I like airplanes is because they're similar to real estate, but they're taxed as personal property. Now, there's a beauty in that. If it's taxed as personal property, that means you can accelerate your depreciation faster, but you also can experience appreciation in the asset. Most people are unaware that airplanes actually appreciate in value. So, perfect example, an airplane that was bought in 1970 on average has appreciated 1 to 2% at present day value. Is that as good as real estate? Absolutely not. But the fact that it appreciates is huge for an investor. That means you're able to park your money in an asset and hedge against inflation if you keep up with it. There's a really strong demand for airplanes that are proven in the training world. My two favorite are the Cessnas and the Archers. Why are these my favorite? Because they have the most reliability in the training environment. In my world, people care about safety more than they care about profits. These are the two safest trainers on planet Earth, and they're the most widely used. Are there newer, better, fancier, more expensive aircraft? The answer is yes. But I'm not teaching you to be somebody who chases the latest and greatest. I'm teaching you how to be a conservative aircraft investor. And that's why we target our aircraft very specifically. The demand is going to continue to grow. And what you don't see on here, guys, is the amount of crashes that are had annually in these specific airplanes. There are more crashes that total these airframes than there are aircraft coming off the production line that are brand new. So the market itself, the training department itself, creates its own scarcity in the asset class. We don't even have to do that as investors. We don't even have to do holdco roll-ups and consolidations. The market itself drives the scarcity based off of the amount of aircraft that are continuing to crash and the amount of aircraft that are not being produced. Now, don't worry. When I say crash, in the grand scheme of things, it's very unlikely for it to happen in your particular portfolio. But if it does, like all smart investors, we have insurance. And I'll opine on that topic here in a bit. As you can see, tons of flight schools nationwide. Ton of them need airplanes, and ton of them can't get financing for that airplane. And you ask yourselves, why? Well, guys, they're not investors. Plain and simple. Most flight school owners that I know don't even own real estate. That will blow your mind. How do we know this? Because we know our customers. We talk to them. We ask them how they got into the business. And a lot of it is purely from passion. So your customers are very passionate about what they do. Your customers who deliver flight training love it. But just because you love something doesn't mean you're any good at it. And what I mean by that is they completely forget that they're in business to make money. And this is where you guys as investors really, really, really help your local communities. You come in there with an investment mindset. You're looking at numbers, you're looking at risk, you're looking at risk, and you're looking at more risk. And all of this risk knowledge is shared with your flight school, and you essentially become silent partners. Your job is to make that flight school profitable, whether you lease them an aircraft or not. But you, 9 times out of 10, know way more than your flight school owners when it comes to money. Now, they'll run you through the ringer when it comes to teaching private, instrument, ground. They'll run you 10 ways from Sunday on doing a pre-purchase inspection, what your compressions are, what the oil looks like. But guys, that's a specialty. That's not a generalist. That doesn't mean he knows how to run a pro forma. That doesn't mean he knows how to read an income statement or a balance sheet or merge the two and create forecasts and pro formas. He doesn't know how to run an ROA or an ROE. They have no idea even what cash on cash is. And that's the value you bring with your finance product. Your finance product being an aircraft lease. Running you through the buy phase, this is where Bill and I traditionally found a ton of our deals. And we were able to do it much faster and much quicker because we're both aviation professionals. Me having a mechanic background, I can size up an airplane over the phone pretty quick. You get me on FaceTime with the guy, I'm looking at firewalls, I'm looking at corrosions, send me your logbooks, and I'll have an aircraft completely evaluated within an hour. But that's because I've been doing it for 15 years. You guys are going to want to have your hand held by a mechanic that you know and trust and follow a very standard process. And why do I say standard on the buy phase? Is so you can manipulate your data in your favor. If you buy an aircraft 30 times the exact same way, you as the investor are going to find ways to cut your costs, thus creating more money for you. Just like in real estate, I go direct to seller, I go off market. I've even pitched guys at the gas tank filling up their aircraft on aircraft Bill and I thought would be good fits. Did I get the deal? No. But was I scared to ask? Hell no. I see flying dollar signs when these guys are flying in. They don't see it that way. They see it as their baby, their passion project. They're emotional sellers. Why do I tell you this? Again, it's to know your customer during the buy phase. If you know your buyer and you tell them exactly what you're going to do with that aircraft, you're trying to produce pilots and create a product that lessens the expense on flight training and gets more people in the product, they're going to love that. I would love that. If one of you came to me and said, I'm going to buy your airplane and I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, and this is how many pilots it's going to help. You are speaking music to my ears because I love this. And it shows me that you would love it too if you bought my stuff. The best deals that I come across are clearly direct to seller. There are agents and brokers, just like in real estate, they oftentimes don't do a very good job and they're wedge themselves in between a deal and create a commission. Not a fan of them at all. There's good ones and there's bad ones. And when I say good and bad, I solely mean it in terms of value. Most of them, in my opinion, don't add value to the transaction because they don't create a more profitable structure for their seller. They solely want a commission from my experience. There's on-market deals from Trade a Plane, Barnstormers, Facebook, even local flight schools may want to sell their aircraft. We've gotten great deals from pretty much every platform that you see on here. So what you see is actually how Bill and I acquire aircraft. There's nothing hidden here. Auctions are really good deals. You really have to be careful with auctions though, especially on the coast. If you guys are going to write something down, this is definitely one of them. If you're buying an aircraft on an auction, you unequivocally want to make sure that it has never lived on one of the coasts. And if it has, be sure to do a very, very thorough inspection for corrosion. The number one thing that will kill the value of your aircraft is corrosion. It's not a dead engine. It's not a prop strike. It's not a wing strike. It's not a hard landing. It's not a wrinkle in the firewall. It's corrosion. Guys, I used to work on helicopters in the Marine Corps. Corrosion was such a serious issue that they sent us to school for an entire month in Pensacola, Florida, and made us wash the aircraft with fresh water every time it went out for a mission over the water. Like, that's how serious this is. Like, it's beyond serious for you to be looking at where that aircraft has lived if you're buying an aircraft. Corrosion, corrosion, corrosion. I'm going to say it 9 more times. Corrosion, corrosion, corrosion. You need to be looking at where this aircraft lived in the logbooks. This is the aircraft that I purchased in a fleet acquisition sale. I rehabbed it. I put Pace Morby's logo on it, and I pitched him this deal. I said, Pace, I'm going to sell you this aircraft using creative finance, the exact same stuff that you teach everybody in sub 2. But not only that, I'm going to get you a triple net lease on the aircraft to help subsidize your son's aircraft or your son's flight training. And right now, if you wanted to fly this aircraft and take flight lessons in it, you can go to Red Rock Flight School in Mesa, Arizona, and they will attest to exactly what I'm saying to you. They officially are flying the sub 2 aircraft in a training environment. They are the ultimate testament to what I am trying to do. Now, if you wanted some information on this, you would simply Google my tail number, November 9280 Alpha. Hey, Kevin, how do I go backwards on this thing? There we go. I found it. Never mind.
Oh, okay. Yeah, just press the arrow.
All right, guys, what you're looking at right here is an actual log of where this aircraft flies because it's timestamped with what we call ADS-B. That means the aircraft sends out a signal. The FA picks up this signal and knows exactly where you took off, how long you flew, what maneuvers you did, your flight path, your airspeed, everything. So if you want to talk about collateral and tracking, the FA does it for you. No need to put a GPS locator or an ignition D-switch or any of that stuff. The FA tells you exactly where your airplanes are at all times, and this is a regulatory requirement. The FA says, hey, if you want to fly this airplane in this kind of airspace, you have to have this equipment that says this, this, and that. And none of us bat an eye at it because we want to continue to fly in their airspace. The reason I tell you that is so you know how to skip trace airplanes. And guys, most of your investors or have some investment knowledge, skip tracing an airplane is infinitely easier than jacking around with some real estate BS. It lays it all out for you. 9280 Alpha is registered to Fitch Aviation Holdings LLC. It tells you the aircraft type, and it even tells you the operator, Red Rock Flight School. This is the school that leased my aircraft. It gets even better. It shows you all the timestamps. It shows you when it started, when it's ran, when it flies. What I see right here, guys, isn't a flight log. I see it as a money meter. If you look at the duration of these flights, I see dollar signs per hour added up based off of the lease that I structured. Then what you can do is get on OpenCorporates, type in Fitch Aviation Holdings LLC, and it tells you exactly where the holding company or the company itself is located. My main holding company is in Wyoming, and then I have a foreign registered company in Texas. So same company, the principal's in Wyoming, the domestic or the foreign, if you will, is in Texas. And it lists it all out for you right here in OpenCorporates. And then it actually tells you my name, my address, and you can get sophisticated as an LLC owner and hide all this stuff if you're trying to be anonymous and all that stuff. But most aircraft owners who have an LLC are not. When you see one of these go anonymous, it's usually for the ultra high net worth guys who really want to covet their privacy when they own like Falcon 50s and stuff like that. In the general aviation world, the stuff that I'm teaching you, that's not necessarily the case. So it's really easy to find the owner of the LLC. And again, this is even suggesting if I even own an LLC. The majority of people with airplanes don't put it in an LLC because they're not worried about risk. They're personal owners. They're not business operators or investors. So they're not trying to separate their assets because they don't really see it as an asset. It's essentially a liability for them. So they're not trying to hide it. After you track down the owner and you figure out who owns the aircraft, if you end up getting it or you're evaluating it, we then go into the rehab phase. Now, in my opinion, as an investor, this is one of your most important phases. And you're going to ask me why. The answer to that is because of this right here. Your costs can get out of control, especially if I know that you know nothing about what you're doing. I, as a mechanic, and oftentimes they do the same with car mechanics, general contractors, I will overpromise and completely underdeliver, and I completely run the show at this point. If you don't contractually obligate me to a budget and a timeline, I'm going to repeat that again. If you do not contractually obligate me as the mechanic, as the general contractor for your rehab to a timeline and a budget, you are going to get raked over the coals. I promise you. Even if they don't intentionally mean to try to run your bill through the roof, the fact that they can take your airplane apart and let it sit for 6 months absolutely kills your yield. 100% kills it. Even if they keep it in budget, let's say your budget's 50 grand, but they said they're going to have it done in 2 months, but it got done in 8 months, which is realistic, by the way. I've had this happen, guys. And I'm a freaking mechanic. But what I didn't know at that time was that I can contractually obligate them with UCC filings. And what that means is you can essentially put a lien on their company if they don't perform on your contract's obligations. Why does this get very concerning? If an airplane is taken apart in their shop, what are you going to do about it? The answer is nothing. Absolutely nothing. You're not even going to get another mechanic to try to remedy the situation. For one, no mechanic can let another mechanic in their shop. Two, no mechanic would touch another rehab from another mechanic because there's so much liability with not knowing what they did. So your number one freaking goal is to underwrite 5, 10, 15 freaking mechanics. And it doesn't matter if it's from one state to another. Even if you took a full separate week to hire a ferry pilot, fly it over to a shop that you approve, and it still gets done on time and on budget, you are 99% ahead of most aircraft flippers. This is where they screw it up the most. Your number one goal today, if you're actually going to do this, is to find a shop who will be on time and on budget and not sell you some bullshit, because it happens all the time. What I do, I have a baby face, guys. People don't know that I have tons of freaking aircraft experience. I'm a highly rated mechanic. I've been doing this my whole life. They have no idea that I'm very versed in contract law, that I'm well educated. I come in just with curiosity. Hey, what's going on, guys? My name's Chris. I got this guy. He's thinking of selling me his 172, but I don't really know much about the aircraft. You think he could help me out? I got his logbooks. That's a good thing, right? I'm alluding to the fact that I'm just curious. I don't know much. And I just continue to ask questions. Hey, how long you been in business? What's your specialty? Oh, you work on Bonanzas? Is a Bonanza the same as a 172? It has a V-tail. What the hell's a V-tail? Oh, okay. So one's faster than the other. Okay, cool. So you specialize in Bonanzas. How much work do you do on 172s? Not much. Oh, okay. But you would still take my 172 even though you just told me this wasn't your specialty? Oh, thanks, man. I'll get back to you. I didn't tell him he was an asshole. I didn't tell him, why would you take a job knowing this isn't your specialty? I just kept my childlike curiosity in place, and I never even alluded to my own experience during that conversation. And I have it all the time. Just like contractors, guys, your aircraft rehab shops have specialties. You've got paint, you've got interior, you've got avionics, you've got power plants, you've got even makes and models. Like, for example, my buddy Isaiah Fretz, he's buying a P210 in Utah. That aircraft, if it's not kept up by a shop who specializes in P210s, there's cause for concern. But during further investigation, we're looking through the logbooks. The shop was rehabbed and kept up to date by a shop that only does P210s. Very comfortable with that transaction, had no reservation. These are the kind of things that I can help you avoid. You can either A, get my stories, or B, get the scars for yourself and get your own stories. It's totally up to you. Do you want the scar or do you want the story? I'm here to give you the story because I've got plenty of scars with this crap. Even when it comes to your full rehab shops, you want to be very skeptical of any shop that says they do it all. I am the first to admit I don't do all of anything. I farm it out to specialists. My interior guy, that's all he does. He's been doing interior for 50 years. His name's Manny. I love that guy. 50 years, that's all he does. He doesn't even install the parts. An A&P installs the parts. The A&P pulls them out. He reupholsters. He does the headliner. It's perfect. All he does. Same with paint. I own a paint shop. My paint shop only paints my aircraft. Does nothing else. I don't even paint separate colors. I only paint white to add value to the aircraft, and then I throw stickers on there. That Pace Morby airplane that you guys seen, my shop did the base coat white, and then I had a specialist come in and do the design and the top coat that was fire blue. My shop didn't even do that. I know my own limitations. So when you come to a shop that promises you to do it all, think twice. That is my fair warning, especially when it comes to overhauling engines. If there's any issues with the power plant, you for sure only want somebody that does only that specific engine 24/7, 365. That's it. You don't want a guy that does that engine every 6 months. One, it's liability. Two, it's time. Three, it's quality. Plenty of reasons to shop for a specialist. And then from an investment standpoint, you're going to save money. Even though the specialist sounds expensive, in reality, their time on target and their time on budget will significantly save you on your yield. Your goal is to get a done project that has no rework, even if you're paying a premium for that time, because you're still going to get an appreciated value out of that aircraft. But if you let it sit for 8 months, 12 months, you have completely killed your own yield because you didn't do what I'm telling you, which is be on time and on budget. We're going to continue on with the rehab process, and that comes into aircraft maintenance. It is always done by an A&P mechanic. The reason for this is because of the value of the aircraft. If you have somebody who did maintenance on an aircraft and it wasn't logged, that means it wasn't done. Or if it was done by someone who's not an A&P, but they found out, you can get in some very serious trouble for that. And again, it devalues your aircraft. When we do this, though, we want to compare our A&Ps to our contractors. If you've ever flipped a home, these guys are not your friends. I want to make that very clear. Your A&P is not your friend. And if you treat it with that perspective, it's solely a business transaction. If he can't perform on time and on budget, you find another one. But just like in real estate, you don't need to know how to replace anything in the house. You just need to know someone that can do it reliably. So just like I underwrite my lessees when I rent an airplane, I also underwrite my mechanics. Guys, it is beyond important to find testimonials of other people who have went through this process with the same mechanic. What I mean by that is, yes, Bobby Joe in Shreveport is a great mechanic. He does 100 hours all the time. Guys, you're not looking for a guy who does 100 hours all the time. You're looking for a mechanic who does rehabs all the time. You see what I'm saying? You want someone who is currently performing the service that you need. And the service that you need is a rehab. So if there is no testimony to his previous rehabs, you find another mechanic. Because Bobby Joe will take your work. And guess what's going to get pushed to the side? Your aircraft. Exactly. And you ask, well, what the hell? I'm paying him 50 grand. Yeah, but you're not his customer who gives him a frickin' 100-hour every 3 weeks. You're not the flight school on the field who keeps his lights on. You're not his number one customer. So even though Bobby Joe intends to get your shit done, intentions don't create results. Results create results. So you need to find someone who has been through this process with the rehab shop that you're going to. And if you guys couldn't tell, I'm very adamant about picking the specific mechanic and shop. This is the part that will screw you the most. If there's anything I teach you today, come back to the rehab phase and listen to the inflection in my voice. Find the right freaking mechanic shop. All right. Now that I've battered that part home, we're going to go into the rent phase. There's two parts here. One, how do I price my rentals? Is it daily? Is it monthly? Is it quarterly? Is it yearly? The answer is it's monthly on an hourly accrual. So if you look right here, this 40 hours means that's my base rent. $1,600 a month. I'm guaranteed. One, that covers your investment plus a spread. If this does not cover your debt plus rehab at least 1.3 to 1.5 debt service coverage ratio, you need to increase this or this. Very simple here. This minimum lease price, we call it an MLP, needs to cover your debt with a guaranteed yield. And that guaranteed yield is going to be your debt service coverage ratio of 1.3 to 1.5. Your cherry on top is them flying above this 40 hours. Now you ask me, well, why wouldn't you just put the monthly rent at their average flight hours flown per month? Because you need to help them. If you put them in a cash flow crunch and they decide not to pay you, who's really screwed at the end of that? Who has to remarket the airplane? Who has to go get it? Who has to ferry it? You guys. This right here is you actually protecting your flight school. Because guys, they're your flight schools. They belong to you. You have to ensure their success. That's the way I treat every flight school. They're mine. I love them. I love them like I love my kids. And even though they don't know, my kids, they don't know I'm protecting them by restricting them from certain apps, not letting them go out at night, not smoking or drinking. In my head, I know I'm protecting them from danger. Same with the flight school. When I put a minimum lease price here, I'm protecting them from a cash flow crunch. Every flight school owner is super optimistic. We're going to fly to the moon and back. We're going to do this and that. And the moment you get a hard landing and you squeeze them for $4,000 a month because you added an insane minimum lease price, you essentially fucked yourself over and you fucked them over. Excuse my language, but that's exactly what just happened. You created a situation to where they couldn't survive any downtimes. If you did this, this is feasible. This can be managed. Even if, let's say, for example, they couldn't squeeze this payment and you said, all right, this is what we're going to do, flight school. I'm going to defer your lease payment for 2 months. I'm going to help you source the part. I'm going to source the shop and we're going to get this freaking airplane back up. And then the 2 months deferred, my minimum lease price, that 2 months, we're going to extend it over the remainder of the lease and amortize it over the remainder of the lease, or just add an additional 2 months on the back end. Now, do you see how you created a situation that you both succeed? That's the goal with my minimum lease prices. Now, with this one in particular, that's still a very good price based off of the equipment. This right here would be your basic Cessna 172 six-pack, 150 grand aircraft. This right here would be your Mercedes-Benz, your BMW. This is going to go to a client who this is a very comfortable minimum lease price. But the only way you know is by doing your own due diligence on your customer. Just like a bank does, you want to stress test your lessees. If they've just gotten business for 3 months, you're a venture capitalist, essentially. You're investing in a startup. You have no historicals based off of what they tell you. But if they've been in business 2 years, they have historical cash flows, you show that their debt to income ratio would cover this minimum lease price, no problem, then you're putting yourself in a very comfortable position to recapture this month over month. And again, this is minimum. Minimum. It's to protect your downside and their downside. And this is also going to vary based off of the size, the location, the equipment, how you structure their lease, how they need their lease to be structured based off of seasonal cash flows. This is a seasonal business. So what I mean by that is my customers in the Southwest have a slow season of the summertime between the hours of 9 a.m. and 7 p.m. And they fly their asses off all winter. But our customers in the Northeast are the exact opposite. Their summers are their gravy. But from late November to early spring, this is really what I can expect to make. Just based off of my knowledge of the industry and our actual customer base. This is really what I'm making in the Northeast based off of weather. So it's important to do your due diligence on the school and the location and their history and their cash flow. It's not uncommon for you to ask them for their K1s, their W2s, P&Ls. And the common objection is, why the hell do you need that? It's for you. I'm protecting you, Mr. Flight School. My goal is to put you into a lease that you can sustain long-term, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Continue on through rent phase. We're going to tag back into the lessee, just as I was previously doing. It goes back to knowing your customers. My number one customer is flight schools, and that's because I speak flight school language. I've built airline programs from the ground up on the big airline side and on the little airplane school side. I know this stuff inside and out. Part 141, Part 61, the aeronautical experience requirements for private instrument, commercial, CFI, CFII, MEI, ATP. I used to be a designated pilot examiner. I've quite literally given well over 2,000 flight exams. So I'm the guy that would give you the test at the end of all of your training, and I would make sure you knew your stuff. I've given these exams in over 40 separate flight schools. I know this stuff extremely well. So my avatar customer is flight schools because I speak their language. 1, from an operational side, 2, from a finance side. I gain their trust by giving them a lot of valued information as an operator. And then I say, hey, I know it's a sensitive topic, but you know that I know my stuff about flight schools. I know a little bit about investing too. Here's my background in investing. Do you mind if we sit down over an hour Zoom and me and Bill go over your financials? Not one school has told us no when we've hit them with that approach, because it's not for me, it's for them. You guys wouldn't believe this, but 30 to 40% of our inquiries, Bill and I turn them down for a lease because it protects them. They're not optimized at the level they could be and cash flowing at the level they could be based off their student and their airplane load. So me and Bill say, hey, do X, Y, and Z. You're going to add X amount to your top line, and this is what you're going to net based off of our experience. Once you achieve those, come back to us in 6 months and periodically check in so we can help you achieve these KPIs, and then you'll be ready for another airplane. And they are absolutely floored that we're willing to turn down money on our end to add to their top line. So it truly is us wanting to help them because we want to get into leases that they can sustain long term. So for me, flight schools are my avatar. For some of you, you're going to do time building. You're going to rent out an airplane, and a bunch of people are going to fly the hell out of it. Some of you, your aircraft brokers are going to be your bread and butter. You're going to BRRRR an airplane, and you're going to have a broker in place to sell the hell out of it. And you think, why would I let somebody sell my airplane and take up a commission? Well, guys, that goes back to our initial conversation, cash flow conversion. If this guy can sell an airplane 2 months quicker than you, he just added to your yield by 2 months. He just pulled your money back out for you with the profit so you can reinvest. The goal is to churn your money as fast as possible. So when you get people who are specialists in their trade, like aircraft brokers, and again, you're going to want to find the unicorn one if you're going to use brokers. Not a fan of them. But there are some really, really good ones that can get your airplane sold in 10 to 14 days. And that's huge for your cash flow conversion cycle. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because a lot of you aren't going to go the flight school route that I go. You're going to have a specific niche, and that niche is going to get you rich. I promise you, just like all things, if you stick to one thing long enough, it's unfreaking realistic for you not to be successful at it. We're now going to go over what's called a wet lease and a dry lease.
Hey,
I'm
Chris,
gonna
this is Bill. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
And we're coming up about 8 minutes till top of the hour. Just wanted to make sure you save some room for Q&As.
Yeah, I got it. All right, so wet lease versus dry lease. A wet lease is the flight school essentially getting you to pay for all this stuff, which is it's very lucrative for them. But some people are not in a position to want to heavily cash flow like we are. So what I'm going to primarily focus on is the dry lease. This is your normal net lease in all equipment, in all commercial real estate investments. In the real estate world, we call it a triple net. In the equipment leasing world, we just call it a pure net lease. The only thing us as the investors are paying is the note on the asset. And that's even if you get a note. Some of you are going to want to deal in all cash, which is totally fine. I prefer to leverage because it increases my ROE and my ROA, but some of you are debt averse, which is not a bad thing. Debt can go both ways. It can burn you, or it can heavily add to your portfolio. It just depends on your flavor. But in any case, you for sure want your lessees to pay for maintenance, insurance, and fuel. They cover all operations costs. And if they don't, this isn't necessarily a passive investment anymore. You're going to be getting calls in the middle of the night, flat tires, prop strike, cylinder went out, oil is looking this color, oil's down 2 quarts. It's just like renting a home to a normal tenant. If you go into a wet lease deal, you are never going to get off the phone with these guys. And rightfully so. If I can push my costs on you and you're not sophisticated enough to know otherwise, I'm going to do it. And they're in the business to make money just like you. So if they can make more money off you, why wouldn't they? But the inverse is true. If you know that you can structure a lease that's sustainable for them, it's a good deal for them to do a dry lease. And it allows you more time to create a bigger portfolio if this is the route you're going. All right, so we'll go down real quick on the requirements that you need from the FA before you get into the airplane world. And they're not necessarily requirements that are incumbent upon you. They're requirements that are incumbent upon the system as a whole. And what I mean by that is the team that you create is going to make sure they produce what's called an airworthy aircraft. An airworthy aircraft means it conforms to its original type design and is within its maintenance period designated by the FAA. Now, in English, that means you just have to have a mechanic make sure that it's up to date with all of its current inspections. And if it's up to date with all of its current inspections, you have a safe, reliable airplane. All right, insurance. One of the most important parts for asset protection. If you have debt on the airplane, that lender is going to be the loss payee, and you are going to be the additional named insured. You both are going to get paid out for the whole value of the aircraft if they were to total the airplane. So let's say I own an aircraft that's worth $100,000. I take an 80 grand loan and I put 20 grand down. The bank is the named insured. Fitch Aviation Holdings is the additional insured. If the airplane is deemed to be totaled and I have 100 grand whole coverage on that, the insurance pays us both out. It's normal insurance in that sense. A lot of the times though, the aircraft aren't totaled. The lessee then makes a claim. They're still paying the note, by the way. Let's say your airplane gets a prop strike, the airplane's down for 2 months, and the insurance is going to pay for the damage done plus lost revenue. You, as the lessor, are still getting your money. You're still getting paid your minimum lease price. So that's how we structure this to make sure your downside's protected and your assets covered. Refinance. This is the part where we take our money back out of the deal and we redeploy it, thus creating an infinite return. This is a broad overview. Your loan to value is usually 70-80% of the appraised value. You'll have a professional appraiser do this. And a lot of the times your appraisers are A&P mechanics, so the appraisal and the inspection, they're usually a twofer. It's a 2-for-1. Interest rates currently are dependent on the debt market, so that can go up or go down. So keep an eye on that if this is the game you're going to play. And this is your typical duration for equipment financing. It's 5 to 7 years. Clearly, as an investor, you want two things to happen with this page. You want your interest rates to go down and your term to be as long as possible. You say, Chris, why the hell do I want to take out debt that's longer? So you're in control of the cash flow. Everything, and I mean every freaking thing I do, is based off of cash flow management. Equity's great, but you can't pay bills with equity. You can only pay bills with cash. So keep that in mind. If a 5-year note is going to crunch you, don't do it, even if it means you have to pass on the deal. Put yourself into a position to where you can comfortably sustain for 6 to 12 months. Now, I'm being astronomical with those numbers, but I've had airplanes down 8 months, and I had to cover the note somehow. Now, luckily, I have a balanced portfolio, and Bill and I manage very well, but we're able to do this because we know what we're getting ourselves into when we're playing with debt. So if you do a duration of 5 years on a $150,000 note, just know you're playing with fire in certain instances if you don't really know how to manage your asset properly, or if the lessee dies or if something happens, you didn't give yourself much breathing room with doing that. Here's one of our most recent deal breakdowns. November 3-5, 715. It's a Cessna 172 India. We bought it for 100 grand. Threw paint on there for 15 grand. Threw interior in it for 6 grand. Our closing costs were 1,000, and our total all-in costs were 122,000. This forced depreciation of $38,000. That was a little over 30% in forced equity. Why is this important, guys? It's because I can pull every dollar I put in back out of the deal, and that 38,000 is my skin in the game. That's my sweat equity that the bank gets to hold on to if I screw this deal up. This is beyond important. If you're doing your deal breakdowns and your after repair values aren't 30% or more in forced equity, it's not a good deal for you if you need that cash. Now keep in mind, I said if you need that cash. Sometimes Bill and I go all the way to only 15%, but we're okay leaving equity in the deal because we have a balanced portfolio. If you're absolutely dependent on pulling this money back out and reutilizing it, then you have to stick to your numbers. But every one of you is going to vary based off of your own personal financial situation and your level of risk and your level of expertise. Our risk is heavily reduced based off of our expertise and knowledge in the space. Not a bad idea to stick to the 30 to 40% realm during your first couple of goes till you get your footing. And oh yeah, best part about this is a Bird Dog brought us this deal. That's where that $1,000 closing cost come from. Paid him $1,000 and we closed in 3 days. All he did was call me and he said, "Hey Chris, this guy wants to sell his airplane. It's already on lease to a flight school. He wants to get out of it because he's moving." Called him up, spoke to the mechanic, FaceTimed him. We looked at the airplane, had it closed within 3 days. Would have been quicker if the phone call wouldn't have came on a Friday. All right, so as a recap, we just ran through how to burn an airplane from a macro level. We went through the buying phase. We went through the rehab phase. We went through the rehab or the rent phase. And then we went through the refinance phase. The last thing left is to do it again over and over and over. I'm going to open it up now to questions. Kevin, how do you want to run this?
Well, So I know some people put questions in the chat, so I can run through the chats real quick just to kind of make sure the chats are answered, and then after that, we'll go off of the hands raised. Jason says, will this recording be available after? Yes, it will be. Chris, you want to put this on your YouTube or no? It's up to you.
Yes, please.
Okay. Some of these Bill answer, but he says, do you hold all your aircraft in one LLC or do you have an LLC for each aircraft?
Us particularly, we hold the majority of our airplanes in one LLC. Some of you are very risk averse and want to do one LLC per airplane. Totally up to you. Some of you want to do series LLCs where you put 10 in one LLC. Again, that's totally based off of your risk preference. Bill and I do not do that. We do not advertise. We don't subscribe to that level of asset protection. But the sky's the limit on what you want to do. You can, yes. Do we? No.
Hey, Kevin, this is Bill.
Yeah.
So I believe I answered all the questions in the group chat. Maybe a better way to do that is if there's any follow-up questions from the question that I answered, can the group raise their hand just to expound upon what we already answered?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. So we'll just go off of the people that raise their hands and answer all the questions.
You can unmute yourselves now if you have a question as well. I'd like to hear your voices.
Well, no. Raise your hand first, and then so that it's in the order. So we don't want everybody. Like, raise your hand in the Zoom. Wait, Chris, do you have Brian? Okay, Brian.
Hey guys, Chris, great to hear you and see you doing the video. Great job, man. Appreciate it. One thing I'm actually have a plane now that may not necessarily be a flight school material, but curious about how to maybe approach some specialty financing on it. It's a Lance Turbo. Decent condition, might need a little bit of help. Owner wants some cash, and I'd love to get it and try and lease it back out again and do some lease process on it. Any ideas on that?
Yeah, so the Lance Turbos are absolutely unequivocally not a popular leased aircraft. That is a we call it a rich guy's aircraft. Your Florida Keys is where I see them a lot. Very beautiful aircraft, by the way, guys. What he just said was it's a very fast aircraft. It's turboed. That means it creates a lot more power at higher altitudes for faster speeds. Aircraft like that are not good for flight schools because of the complexity and the insurance requirements. But deals like that are good for flips. So if you can get it at a great deal and create a spread, those are great flips.
Hey, Brian, this is Bill. I got a question for you.
Absolutely, buddy.
What's it mean the horse is dead?
Oh, the horse was dead. He was just making a joke about the mechanic. Make sure you have the absolute mechanic, the right mechanic. That's all.
Okay.
So
I was looking at a couple of your comments. I didn't know what you were getting at.
I'm sorry. I'm a bit of a dry humor kind of guy. So yeah, he was commenting about that. That's all, buddy. Nothing much more than that.
All right.
Here's another quick question for you, Chris. Then I'm sorry. While I still have the mic open, and I'll let everybody else jump in. Flight clubs and or flying clubs and stuff like that. Any ideas on leaseback options there? Because like I personally belong to a couple, and wondering whether you think that this is like an avenue or just not enough hours to really pay for the aircraft. Thoughts on that?
No, those are very viable options, dude. Flying clubs fly a shit ton of hours. Guys, just because my avatar is flight schools doesn't mean there's not a massive market out there. Flying clubs being a huge market. They do leasebacks. That's how they get all of their aircraft primarily for the club. So yes, absolutely. They are absolutely a viable option, and I highly recommend them.
Okay, let's connect on that because that's actually one of my ideas for this Lance Turbo. So a flying club that has a lot of demand and interest. So anyway, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Hey, Jason, make sure you leave your name and email in that question in the chat box, and then Myron will save your information, and we'll get some more information on that Lance Turbo and see what we can help you do with it in a flying club.
I would love to do that. Absolutely, 100%. And it's Brian. Sorry, man. So yeah, I would love to do that because I think the owner is very eager. He's been sitting on it. It's just been sitting dead for like it hasn't. The mechanic flew it in April, and otherwise it's been sitting there for a year and a half. So it's beautiful condition. I think the clubs could make a big use of it and really, arbitrage the hourly.
Yeah, those arbitrages work great when you actually find a club that's willing to take the risk on a specialty aircraft. And usually when you do, the guys really want to fly the hell out of it. They actually have a specific mission on why they want to pull it in. So to answer your question, yes, it can be done.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it, buddy. And
Yeah, no problem.
Bill. So sorry, guys. I just noticed the video thing now. So my apologies. I'm outside hanging out, listening to some great conversation on airplanes.
Hey, Mike from Michigan here. Quick question. So I'm a parcel owner of 182 we've had for a few years.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah.
Yes. You have to raise your hand and you can.
Oh, sorry about that. I mean,
there's line. I know there's a lot of people that wants.
I got you. Sorry about that.
Yeah. Chris, do you have a hard cutoff? 50 minutes?
Yeah, I have until 1440 is the drop dead. So we got 32 minutes. So keep the questions coming. Let's rapid fire. Let's get this shit going.
Okay. Daniela.
Hello. So I'm kind of like new to this, and I was just wondering, how do you connect with like bird dogs? Like, is it through email? Like, how would somebody who wants to just get their foot in the door kind of figure this whole thing out?
All right, so have you watched my YouTube video with Pace Morby, the one that's like 45 minutes and we're walking around Falcon Field in Mesa?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's a perfect start on what I'm looking for. The second part to that is submitting those deals to our sub-2 plane website. I know some of you have probably submitted deals, and what happened with that is somehow our CRM got completely disorganized and threw them all over outer space. And that was our fault for not being prepared for the level of influx that Pace Morby was going to send. But I have hired an entire team to now be able to sort, underwrite, and get back to anybody who sends a deal within a timely manner. That's why, in fact, that's why Kevin's running this webinar right now, is for me to go out into the world and say, hey, I freaking love what you guys are doing. I love the deals that you're sending me. And either A, I'm going to be able to do them and buy them from you, or B, I'm going to freaking teach you how to do them at no cost to you and be on your side every step of the way.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Is there any other questions you have?
I think that's all.
Thank you.
Oops, sorry. Ted.
Hey, Chris and Bill, nice to meet you. Appreciate you putting this on. So I'm a fellow veteran and a pilot, and also a real estate investor. And I stumbled into this business on my own, and I was really surprised to see.
Yeah, tell us a fucking story.
So during my flight training, I realized, hey, this is a pretty good investment opportunity. So I bought my first aircraft, 172. Since then, I bought two more. So I have two 172s.
Oh, sorry, Ted. I accidentally muted.
Yeah. Somebody muted you. All right,
My
keep
bad.
going. You got two 172.
So my question's on financing. So you had you mentioned refinancing. So what I ran into in my first aircraft, I bought it with a timed out engine, put a new engine in it. It's up and flying. It's one of the most popular aircraft at the school. I went to refinance it out, and they said we're gonna cap you at cost basis. They didn't give a shit what the ARD value was at all. Which was unfortunate because I actually could have gotten better terms if I had used financing on acquisition. Is there a resource out there that shows who maybe some of the private money lenders are who will finance the acquisition side, who some of the good refinance lenders you use are that will, actually use the true value of the aircraft, et cetera?
To answer your question, yes, absolutely. So the way Bill and I do this is we put together, and this is if we need private money. A lot of the times we don't. But if we need private money, I create an investment pitch deck with the exact time, budget, acquisition costs. I mean, all the costs plus the return to the investor and the timeline, and then the collateral associated with it. And it's really going to be incumbent upon you, Ted, to teach your investors that this is a safe investment because you're a good asset manager. So for example, if you were going to do a real estate investment, you have experience. If you came to me and you needed my money and you showed me that you've done this 10 times, it's like, oh, this is a no-brainer. So you really have to emphasize your ability to manage the asset and collateralize the debt to secure their interest in it. Now,
Fair enough.
with institutional lenders, how many banks did you go to, Ted?
Just a handful. I think I spoke to one guy, ended up being a hard money guy. They didn't have enough money for the deal. And then I talked to a couple others. I can't remember the name. I eventually ended up just going through AOPA, who essentially brokered it out. So I'm with a credit union somewhere.
Okay, that's honestly, guys, listen to what Ted's saying right now. It's huge. He only went through a handful of banks and still got a loan. If you literally get a list of all of the chartered banks in your state, I fucking promise you, you will find a bank in your state, if you try hard enough, who will lend on an airplane exactly like Ted wasn't able to get. That's what I ended up doing. I literally have a spreadsheet with 70 separate banks in the state of Texas. So I literally get on my horse, I put my cowboy boots on, I put my cowboy hat on, and I ride bank to bank to find the money. That's your job as an investor. Find the money. You have the asset, you have the product. Don't let one bank tell you no. Or if they tell you no, ask why. And then answer that question. And then eventually 10, 11, 12, 13 banks will tell you no, and they'll all tell you why. Then you have a full list of objections that you can counter for the 14th, 15th, and 16th one. Does that make sense? I don't let people tell me no based off of things that I can fix. If I can fix it right there and then I do, and I'll come back again. Hey, you know, I know you told me no on this last one, but look, I did 3 more, and look at the terms I got from these banks. Dude, I shop them. I'm a fucking savage when it comes to banks.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Hey, Ted, question for you. What branch were you in?
Navy. Yeah,
Oh,
I
nice.
went to Pensacola. I may have overlapped with you or some people you know, but unfortunately, I got the Navy whammy. Didn't get to fly for the Navy.
What'd you do at Pensacola?
I just stashed there waiting to class up. Didn't get to class up for flight school, so I shipped out on the Constellation. So OIF, OEF.
Thanks, dude. Well, hell yeah. Hey, Ted, make sure you drop your email and your phone number in there. Bill and I do. It's great working with veterans because it's more like, look, this is the shit you need to do, get it done, and then when it's done, come back and we'll regroup. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Bill and I are very oriented that manner. Those of you who are not oriented that manner, let me know so I don't get all Marine mode on you. I'll soften it up.
Yeah, Bill, I sent you a DM, but I'll follow that up a little bit later. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, no problem.
Oh, Bill, you're speaking, but you're muted. 1 second.
Hey, Ted, yeah, nice to meet you as well. Army vet here, and I'll look for your DM and follow up with you.
All right. Chris. By the way, we might not be able to get through everybody, just we will try our best, right?
I'll shorten up the answers and try and get as many as we can. And then guys, drop your questions in the chat box as well, even if your hand's raised, and then we'll take a screenshot and a snapshot of these questions, and then I'll still answer them on a YouTube reel or an Instagram reel or something. It's very important for me to get this information out to you guys.
Thanks for holding this webinar. Definitely appreciate it. I've messaged you a couple of times on Instagram. So I got into this. We're real estate investors here in Houston. So sub-twos, all of that language we do a ton of out here. So we know that here, obviously, you know, with real estate, we have lists, foreclosure, taxings, and anything aside from the bird dogs. Are there any lists for planes, foreclosures, anything like that? Those they're behind on payments?
Yes, absolutely. So what he's asking is if there's a list of tax liens, foreclosures, distressed aircraft, anything like that. It is, but it's a little more difficult to get because you got to go into probate lists. A lot of aircrafts will be hidden in probate, not necessarily foreclosures. And if you want foreclosure lists, you have to get them specifically from the bank who holds the note. It is possible. It's just a little more difficult than real estate. So Chris, you're very clever, by the way. What Chris is saying is, where can I find the list of distressed aircraft that have nothing to do with maintenance? I want to find the distressed person, not the distressed airplane. I prefer a distressed person because the airplane's turnkey. Not dealing with a contractor is my go-to.
Yeah, and I didn't get into planes. My 12-year-old son wants to be a pilot, so anything and everything planes now, we're in it. But I was gonna tell you that I actually thought about the sub twos before I even saw your video, and then I just happened to see your video a couple of days later, and so we're here now. So I appreciate it, and thanks for your service. I'm prior Coast Guard.
Nice, dude. I love it. Hey, Chris, keep in contact if your son ever wants to come out to Bill and I's aviation ranch and fly with us. We're all open for that. We do a lot of flying with our children as well. I've got 6 kids and all of them fly with
All
me.
right. Yeah, but 10 and 12. I'll put my information and then I'll send you another message here on online here.
Right on, Chris. Thanks.
Appreciate you, sir. Thank you.
All right, Dennis. Oh, your mic's not working. Dennis, your mic's not working. We can't hear you.
Dennis.
Hang on. How's that? How's that?
There we go.
All right. Sorry about that. Hey, don't go soft on us, Chris. All right. Marine up on us. I'm not ex-military, so it don't matter. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I live in Texas. All right.
Dude,
So
I can tell with that mustache, dude. Holy Mr. Mustache.
hey, whereabouts are you in Texas? Generally.
We're in Pottsboro. We're right up on Lake Texoma,
Oh,
Oklahoma,
okay.
Texas border.
Okay, gotcha. We're down here in Central Texas, out in the hill country. Anyway, long story short, thank you for this stuff. One quick question for you. You mentioned something about checking financials when you're talking to flight school owners and saying, hey, we want to make sure this is a good deal for you as well as for us. How far back do you go? Because I kind of missed that. I've been really trying to be attentive, but do you look at a year, 12 months?
12 months is completely sufficient. If you're getting into pretty big deals, like let's say you're doing a fleet, 2 years will be fine. And I do it essentially just like a bank does for me when we purchase the aircraft, because essentially they really are purchasing the aircraft from you. It's
Right.
just called lease financing, not finance to purchase. So
Right.
you're still a financier. You need to underwrite just like a bank does, but you don't have to be as stringent if it's a one aircraft deal. A trailing 12 is totally fine.
That's perfect. One last quick question. Thank you for that. When you're looking at, if it's not a rehab, which I like that whole concept, the BRRRR concept. If you're not looking at a rehab, let's say you come into a plane, like I think a gentleman was talking about, let's say you just find something out there and we've got, how far do you go since the last overhaul? Do you have a limit and say, hey, if I've got 500 hours left before TBO, you don't want to touch it, or?
Okay, let me do some quick math for you guys. The Hobbs time is how I make my money.
Right.
The tack time is how I track my maintenance. It's a 1/3 of an hour difference. So if he said there's 500 hours left on the engine, what that really means to me is 30% more than 500. So roughly 700 hours left on the engine, which
Okay.
is a good thing. That means that's 700 hours of revenue for 500 hours of maintenance time. That's huge for you guys. 30% more money is always better when it comes to your maintenance cost.
Yeah.
The second thing he's asking about is the most common misconception that all of you will run into, and the number one objection is, oh my God, it's coming time for its overhaul. Let me give you a quick lesson on engines. The 2 most common engines in all of general aviation are built by Continental and Lycoming, both of which were type certified back in the 60s. Back in the 60s, they didn't have oil analysis, bore scopes, or all the fine machinery that we have nowadays to check the health of our engines.
Right.
So they put a time before overhaul with a calendar date and an hourly requirement in the manual, in the type certificate data sheet. So that was used to track the health of an engine just based solely on time.
Right.
But as technology progressed, we're able to monitor the health of our engine all the way down to the component. So you can unequivocally fly an engine to 4,000 hours, no problem, if you monitor the health with an oil analysis and
Right.
bore scope inspections. And your bore scopes, what that does is it looks for corrosion, pitting, scratching, anything on the internals.
Sure. Sure.
All it is a little camera that goes inside of an orifice, and it looks at all the cylinders and all the orifices.
Right.
And what an oil analysis does is it sends oil particles through a machine, and it lays it all out just like you would do a blood test, and it gives you a full colonoscopy of that engine. It tells you if you have ferrous metals, non-ferrous metals, brass, titanium, silicone, any of that shit.
Mm.
And the beauty of that is I know based off of what metal comes out from that oil analysis, what part to replace so my engine can keep going. We call it on-condition maintenance.
On condition.
This unequivocally will save you thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on your end and the flight school's end. Because when you overhaul an engine 2,000 hours early, you take an aircraft out of service, the aircraft's not making money. The flight school's not making money. You're not making money. You threw a CapEx out there that was totally unnecessary. You didn't need to put $35,000 into the engine. Totally ignorant based off of your lack of experience. Same with the school. So it's up to you as the lessor, as the asset manager, to teach your customers how to prolong their equipment.
Excellent.
You do it with numbers and proof. You don't just talk out of your ass. You don't fucking go to them and just repeat what I said to you. You get data. And the data proves that what Chris says is accurate. Don't use Chris as a reference. Use
Right.
part 3. Use the Lycoming Service Manual. Use the Continental Service Manual. Use the Power Plants Manual from the FAA. Use Mike Bush's Power Plant Reference Guide. The guy's an absolute expert in this realm. Use Blackstone Labs references on how long they've been tracking engines and how many engines have actually failed past TBO. Guys, the answer is literally 1 in 11,000. One airplane out of 11,000 engine failures were attributed to being past TBO. That's less than 0.0001%.
I love it. So the savvy program is a good thing.
It's
Fantastic.
the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry,
The greatest thing since sliced bread and vanilla ice cream, I tell people.
it's almost as good as that mustache, Dennis.
Yeah, baby. I'll be coming down to your ranch soon. Thank you,
Come
Chris.
on
I'll
down.
get off right now. Thank you. I'll be listening in.
Yeah. Who's next?
Well, so I kind of, Chris, I know you and I talked about it. You and I talked about this real quick, but we never finalized it. But one thing that I wanted to personally ask Chris was, what would it look like if you were to teach me how, if you were to teach me how to do what you're doing, right? Kind of like what Pace has done for me and a lot of people on here. And I know your answer was no. But Chris, let me tell you the numbers. Let me tell you the numbers, because I don't think you see that. I don't think you understand the grasp of this. You had 130 people you had 121 people register, and you had 73 people show up, which is like 60% of people showed up. When I do my webinars, like I'll be lucky if I get 25% show up rate, which means there's a lot of demand for what you're doing. And still right now, there's like 50 people that are on the Zoom call, even after an hour and a half. So I will be curious personally on my side to see if you would open up like maybe 3 spots and I'll take one, or maybe 5 and I'll take the other one. But like, would you ever consider doing something like that?
Yeah, so Bill and I have had this conversation multiple times, and what it really comes down to is saying no to many things in life so we can say yes to that one thing that truly brings value to the world. And we've been approached on many occasions for mentorships, coaching programs, YouTube series, all kinds of stuff. And Bill and I religiously have to say no so we can say yes to our leasing company and continuing to make content for this space. But the demand has been so high that Bill and I have been teetering with the idea of being very specific with our avatar mentee on someone who's not going to actually be an asshole, as Pace says it. Someone who's actually going to get in the fucking game and do it. Not armchair quarterback, not forecast, not sit around and analyze the deal. Go get dirty, man. Bring an airplane to my shop and rehab it. Fly it in. We got our own ranch. We've got our own rehab facilities, paint centers. Come do it. That's who we're looking for. And Bill and I have really toyed with this lot. It's like, dude, you know, if we can groom our own potential partners, that would be the ideal avatar, but certainly not someone we're going to have to hold their hand and run through the same questions over and over again to try to convince them that what they're doing is right. I've always been the adage of action plus results equal knowledge. I don't try to gather all the bullshit and all that stuff all first and then go employ it. No, man, I jump in the game. I learn my mistakes, I get my lumps, and then I got the knowledge to not do what I just did again or to do it over and over and over and compound on that experience. But I know not everybody's at my tempo. Sometimes Bill's not even at my tempo. Poor guy. I pulled him out of early retirement. But if we were to do something like that, it would definitely have to be the right mentee who really wants to jump in the game day one and get going. Like, let's get an aircraft this week and get this going kind of guy or kind of girl.
So this is kind of the favor that I have to ask of Chris, because Chris said no to any sort of coaching for the last 3 months, 2-3 months that I've been asking him. And I said, well, what if we get like 10 to 15 people that are like seriously interested and book a call with him? So what I'm here to do is I'm going to put a calendar call for Chris and myself, and I want to see how many people will be interested to see to kind of do this, right? You know, because Chris wouldn't do it just for me. He said he will only do it if there's enough interest, if there's enough demand. So if you guys are interested and want to kind of show some numbers for Chris to do this, I'm gonna put a calendar link down in the chat. It doesn't mean it doesn't mean like you're like ready to jump on. Like, you don't have to. This is not a commitment. It's just like kind of just to see where the engagement is at. So I'm gonna put the calendar link on there, and depending on how many people schedule a call, I think it would change Chris's mind. So I'm gonna I just put the calendar booking link on the chat. So if you guys are interested, book a call with him, just to kind of just tell him like what is that you're looking for, right? Like not you. I'm not talking to you, Chris. I'm talking to the audience. It's like, what do you want to learn about airplanes, so that Chris has an idea of what the what people want to learn. Like, do people want to learn leases? Do people want to learn how to flip airplanes? Do people want to learn how to do creative finance airplane? I mean, we never even talked about creative finance on the Zoom call, but Chris, I know you do a lot of creative finance stuff, seller finance, subject twos, but today was just straight BRRRR. This is like one of probably 15, 20 different avenue of making money in aviation that you're doing. So I have put I'm gonna put the Zoom link, the calendar link one more time. So if anyone is interested to you know, just to at least just hop on like an introduction call to see where the engagement is at. But Chris, how many do you have any numbers, like if 20 people book a call, like you would seriously consider?
Honestly, if 20 people booked a call, I would underwrite them just like I did a mechanic. And it's sole reason, guys, I'm not money motivated, I'm time motivated. None of you are going to pay me enough to pull me away from my leasing company, but some of you are going to be good enough to actually be our a pseudo partner, if you will. Some of you have the acumen to actually go the distance. And when I underwrite you, essentially, that's what I'm looking for. Someone who's going to jump in the game, someone who is actually not going to be an asshole and put their feet first before their mouth, big eyes, big ears, small mouth kind of mentality, just like I was when I was a boot in the Marine Corps, and someone who has an acumen to grow. This is not something you want to think of from a one airplane deal. If you're only in the 1 to 5 airplane market, you're too small for what I want to do. I'm trying to grow at 30 to 50 airplanes a year, and we're on track to do it. By this time next year, we'll be at 100 airplanes. Bill and I, you guys see a lot of airplane stuff, but what you don't see is that we're very high-level financiers. A lot of the stuff that we do is solely based off of the capital we're able to raise and the debt and the equity that we're able to pull together and create a product that we're able to manage. That's the kind of people that I want near me and around me. So if that's not you, please don't reach out. If it is you, reach out and get to my ranch and let's get to work.
Yeah, your ranch is Dallas, right?
My ranch is north of Dallas. And the reason my ranch is important is because that's the aviation mecca. That's where I can completely lay the foundation bare. It'll show you how I've incorporated aviation real estate, aviation as an asset class, and an aviation rehab facility all under one roof by consolidating costs. All of this is to generate profit. The number one goal of an investor is to make money for his shareholders and his partnerships and himself or herself. That is what you're really going to learn if you come to the aviation ranch and embark upon this endeavor with us. It's really the money side, but the asset class happens to be an airplane. But if you learn how we're doing these things, it applies to everything. You can do it with tractor trailers, you can do it with vessels, you can do it with rail cars, you could do it with real estate. You can even learn how to compound depreciation as an expense with cash flow and grow your portfolio at an insane rate like Bill and I are doing. But it takes a growth mindset. You can't be a one and done kind of a person when you come into something like this. It's just not going to work for us.
All right, Chris, I think Bill already answered this, but TS85, that's the ranch.
It's Tango Sierra 85, TS85.
Okay. One more. We got 5 minutes, so Chris, you want to just like rapid fire these real quick before you head out on another?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Well, it's got. Hey, yes or no question.
No. Hey, I just got a text that they moved my van time to take me to the airport, so I got about 15 minutes.
Okay, perfect. Ivan.
All right, hit it.
Hey, Chris, just wanted to unpack the $1,600 lease example a little bit more. Like, that's the minimum amount you would collect, but what about above that? How would you structure anything above the minimum 40 hours for $40 an hour?
Perfect answer, or perfect question, guys. So remember when I said that minimum lease price was to protect the cash flow of the school? And that minimum lease price was also your debt service coverage ratio times 1.3 or 1.5, depending on your comfort and risk. That's an hourly price. So let's say they flew 41 hours, you would make $1,640. If they flew 42 hours, you would make $1,680. So you still have massive amounts of upside. It just depends on what school you lease to. Like, for example, my schools in the Southwest on average fly between 90 and 120 hours a month, but the downside, my bare minimum is still 40 hours. So I'm still getting $40 per hour for every hour after 40. And if they only flew 10, I'm still getting that full 40. That minimum lease price is solely to cover the school's downside and your debt. That way your risk is covered and their cash flow is covered.
Awesome. Thank you. And do you have a ROI calculator by chance?
I do not, but Myron is working on that for me. I've had that asked several times, and I'm actually, I think I'm more excited than you are when he finishes it.
Right on. All right. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Relina?
Yes, sir. Hi. Thanks so much for having me today. Chris, I have been reaching out to you since July about the airplanes. I was just doing the bird dogging part. And I wanted to know, I know that you now have your website that's been updated. I know you said something about your CRM. So I just wanted to make sure, are you still looking for what you posted on your page on your Instagram page? Are you still looking for that same Cessna 172N, or has that changed? Or is it on the website?
It's on the website and it has not changed. I will be looking for that specific make and model for the indefinite future. So
Okay.
you can reasonably assume that Bill and I will always be in the market for Cessna 172s, Novembers and newer, and PA 28s.
PA 28. Okay,
Yep,
PA 28. Got it. Thank you.
you're welcome. Thank you for showing up. I really
All
appreciate
right.
it.
Thank you. You too.
All right, David.
Yeah, hey, thanks for this, Chris. Really appreciate all your time. Couple questions for you. One of them is, what's the biggest bang for the buck in rehabbing? Is it avionics? I think avionics is probably half. You know, interior, engine. What do you think?
Dude, I cannot tell you how excited I am that you asked this question. Unequivocally, the biggest bang for your buck in terms of rehab is paint and interior.
Okay.
As ridiculous as that sounds, guys, your consumer is somebody who has perception of safety. If they see new paint and new interior, they think you're keeping up with the maintenance, which couldn't be furthest from the truth. But the perception is if it's got new paint and new interior, you're taking really good care of your airplane. In fact, one of the most successful flight schools in the entire world became as big as they are because they invest in new or like new aircraft. They always keep their stuff nice. They're called ATP Flight School. They produce 20% of America's airline pilots. Biggest flight school in the world. And the reason they became that big was because of that question, David. What do people perceive as a good airplane? One that looks nice. Paint and interior.
Excellent. Great. And then if I can tag on with that, would you shy away from like a plane with a low engine that's been, you know, flying like 20 hours a year, getting corrosion sitting up in the Northeast? Would you shy away from something like that, even if it only had 200 hours in the engine?
No, not at all. 200 hours in the engine's great. Now, you buzzword, you said there's corrosion in there. Now,
Well, it might
that's
be. It's been, you know, it hasn't flown. You know, I'm looking at one that hasn't flown since like February.
well, that's up to you to do your due diligence. If you remember what I said earlier, I said you want to do a bore scope inspection on your engines periodically along with an oil analysis. When you buy this aircraft, you're still going to want to do that bore scope and an oil analysis. You don't want a camshaft with rust on it. You don't want rods and pins with any kind of corrosion. That's you're just asking for internal failure.
All right.
But can corrosion be dealt with, guys? Yes, absolutely, especially if it's surface corrosion. But if it's pitting or other types of corrosion, there are certain things you want to avoid. But it's incumbent upon you to be corrosion minded. I said it like 100 times. Corrosion.
Okay.
Surface corrosion can be dealt with abrasion and a top coat. It depends on what kind of metal it is. But corrosion, depending on the type, is easy to deal with. It's not a deal breaker, but you need to know the type of corrosion before you can take it further.
Okay. Last question. The Piper wing spar AD, is that affecting you guys? Like, you know, there's all these PA-28s high time.
It may affect us, but from an investment standpoint, if the numbers make sense to continue to utilize that asset and replace both those wing spars for about 40,000 a piece, you again have a lifetime asset. So for us, it's a money decision. Does the money I put in, does the CapEx amortize over to an ROI? Do I get a yield out of this money? The answer is going to be yes if you have it on a long-term lease.
All right. Thank you so much, Chris. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, Dave.
All right, last question, and you're done. John?
Hey, so Kevin, can I read this one question real quick?
Yeah.
Ivan says, does anyone know if accelerated depreciation works with airplanes and is there recapture upon exit? The answer is yes to both of them. You can accelerate your depreciation year one, but if you sell it and create a gain on that, you're going to get taxed at ordinary income, and that's dependent on you. So there's really no way to get out of recapture with an airplane unless you purchase it within a qualified opportunity business zone with a qualified opportunity fund. So I know I threw a lot at you there, but again, my main goal is finances. I do this shit with everything, not just airplanes. So if you guys want to buy airplanes and lease them out and you want tax breaks, if you buy with a qualified opportunity zone, or if you buy with a qualified opportunity fund within a qualified opportunity business zone, you're treated just like real estate was when you were able to buy real estate. At 10 years, you don't pay recapture. So Ivan, that's a great fucking question. If you're going to buy airplanes and you hold on to it for 10 years within this zone, you're not going to pay recapture, but you got to be committed for the timeline.
All right. So buy airplanes if you want to not pay taxes.
Pretty much.
All right. John.
Hey, thanks. Chris, is there like a year range that you like try to stay in, or like a total time you try to stay under?
Okay, so that's this is how I'm going to put it. I am able to go way outside of normal risk because I am very, very experienced with this. If I was you, well, hold on, let me preface this. John, what's your experience with aviation?
Yeah, so here's mine. So I'm looking to get my pilot's license. Don't have it yet. Done a discovery flight. I've actually done ground schools done for my PPL. I'm wanting to either buy a plane and lease it and use that for basically paying for my flight training, or my other thought is buy one and then use that specific plane for flight training with the independent flight instructor, and then let them or like rent it out to the independent CFI so they can also teach other people in it to kind of cover my training cost.
Yes, same exact play I'm doing with Asher and that airplane down in Arizona. It can absolutely be done. So you do not have anywhere near the experience I have. So I'm going to answer it based off of my knowledge of you and what you want to do. You for sure want to be way more conservative with the time on the airframe and the time on the engine to reduce any risk of you having to go out into the market and fix something that goes wrong. Like me, for example, if I bought an airplane that has 15,000 hours, 2,500 hours on the engine, bad paint, bad interior, I can get that airplane up and running in 2 months and not risk my capital. Can you do that?
No.
So, and I'm not picking on you or anything. My point is, you don't want to target the same things that I'd be willing to target until you get a little footing under your belt. So if I was John Isley, I would stay well below 5,000 hours total time, nothing over 1,000 hours on the engine, and something that has a clean bore scope along with a clean oil analysis, paint be conditioned, interior be conditioned, and preferably an IFR avionics stack. And the reason for that is you're not going to have to do anything for the airplane for it to be rentable at a middle of the road flight school.
Okay. And then
does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. And then on your oil analysis, when you're doing leases to flight schools, do you write that in your lease? Like, hey, we need to do an oil analysis every oil change, or like every so many oil changes?
Unequivocally, yes. Okay. Anything that I want the flight school to do, I put it in paper. There's no verbal agreements. There's no handshakes. There's no hugs. There's no side kisses. None of that shit. If I want you to do X, then it's in the paperwork. No questions asked.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Kevin, you're on mute.
I was my bad. I believe that was all the questions that was answered. I just went through all the chats. Bill answered them for you, Chris. Nobody else has a hand raised, so we just went through almost 2 hours of just straight pure content. Guys, let me put the link down one more time, just so people have it. Just so people have it, and you can, if you guys are ever interested in just booking some sort of a discovery call just to see what airplane investing is like, so that I can get Chris to start this at least 1 hour a week, or some sort of call that, you know, only for the people that actually wants to learn, because I've been trying to convince him to do it for so long, he wouldn't do it. And the main reason is, you know, Chris, you know, he's, like he said, he doesn't need the money to do it, so he's not looking to do it. But so guys, book a call if you guys are interested in just figuring out what this airplane investing is like, and depending on how much demand there is, we'll see. We'll take it from there. But Chris, anything else you want to say before you hop off? You got maybe a couple more minutes.
Yeah, first of all, I'd like to thank all of you for coming out and supporting what we're doing. It means a whole lot for me. I came from a very big Mexican family. I didn't come from money. Everything that I have and I've built has been on the backs of labor and mentors. So I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth, and I'm assuming that you guys are here, you didn't either. And that's really inspiring to me. So the way I give back is by teaching exactly what I'm doing. I'm not do as I say, I'm do as I do. So if you guys are truly interested in this, come just watch me, or follow me on my YouTube channel, follow me on my Instagram. It's at Chris Does Deals. I'm actually doing this stuff with Bill. We're working a fleet deal right now in Pensacola, Florida for $1 million. It's coming with 4 airplanes, bunch of engines, bunch of parts. All of that's rolled in a creative finance deal. I'm putting no money into it. Guys, that's crazy. $1 million worth of airplanes and parts for no money, and they're already leased. That's what I'm showing you guys. Come along for the ride. Hit me up at Chris Does Deals. And if you want anything recorded in terms of educational content, I'm going to get more and more and more deep into what I'm doing, especially on the lease side. My #1 goal is to be able to securitize leases just like a mortgage-backed security. I'm going to sell a bunch of leases in a portfolio to institutional investors, and I'm going to document the whole process from the ground up, so you guys can see that you can do this too. I haven't currently done it. I've never securitized anything, but I'm going to figure it the fuck out, and I'm going to show you guys how to do it.
All right. Well, that's it. For people that have booked a call, you know, Chris or someone on, or me or Myron will reach out to make sure everything is, because Chris you're flying. How many more days are you flying? Like the next week?
I'll be all over Eastern Europe for the next 10 days, but I'm still, aside from the time I'm flying, you can still get in contact with me through Kevin or through my team, or sometimes if you don't get in the AI bot mix, sometimes on Instagram. But I try to be engaged as much as possible while still maintaining focus on the leasing business. So if I don't get back to you, it's not because I'm intentionally ignoring you. It's because there's literally thousands and thousands of people that have been reaching out since the Pace Morby thing, but also so I can actually focus on what I'm doing and creating the content that benefits the broader goal here, which is to document exactly what I'm doing for the next couple of years.
Yeah. Well, there we have it. Thank you so much for everybody for showing up. I know that was very informative for the last 2 hours, and we plan on Chris plans on doing this at least once a quarter. So it's not something that he can do like every week. Obviously, he's like literally flying. But keep an eye out for the emails, and then we'll see all of you guys next time.